Hey everyone, welcome to Intentional Guy tonight. And tonight is we're starting off our new campaign. It's a 28-day challenge, Blaine.
Okay.
And Blaine Bressman here is a really good friend of mine from church. We are in small group together. And Blaine, you actually inspired this challenge that we're actually doing today.
So it's my fault.
It's your fault.
It's my fault.
It's
Okay.
it's your
Just
fault.
want to be clear.
Shelly told me to make sure I said that.
Yeah.
Okay. But no, they're great friends of ours. And iron sharpens iron, right? And I was reading something where we are the sum of the five people that we hang out with, you know? And you start thinking about who are these people, and you want to have people in your life that have the same value system, goal system, but also people who will challenge you. And in this, as we get started to this is the start off to this challenge. If you guys will go to intentionalguy.org, there's a free book offer, and it's called Intentional Man, and it's a devotional that I wrote, not very long. It's got 8 chapters in it of things that I found in my journey into restoration that helped. And I want to encourage you that during this time, find some men, another man or two to do this with, because some people, if we ask them, some men, if we ask them, who are the five people that you hang out with that are a lot of married men don't have a lot of friendships. And I think those friendships are very important. Healthy, really good friendships are very important. And Blaine is one of those friendships for me. And we had something that happened. We had something that happened. Sounds like a bad thing, doesn't it? We go out to eat quite a bit, and we hang out together. We just went last month and celebrated Shelly's birthday, and had a great time together. We've only known each other a little bit over a year, I think. Now they started coming to our small group, and as we formed this friendship, you have to understand, I've not had in the last couple of years, my friendships have been like that just for the simple fact I have walls. For the longest time, I felt like a throwaway person and all that stuff. So my walls have started to come down from that. And Blaine, we went out to eat one day, and Blaine said, Mike, I want to talk to you. So afterwards, when we're done, can I have a few moments with you? Well, immediately what comes to my mind, walls. Oh no, this what did I do
Right.
wrong? How did I offend Blaine, or what's going on here? And I want Blaine to share this and what he said to me and what we discussed that night.
Yeah. So what I see or what I saw was is that his wife, when we would go out to dinner, is that she would put up wall. I mean, she'd be very defensive. As soon as she sat down, be like waiting for Mike to say the first joke, and she would be the
Object.
the object of his joke. And and Mike, would be fun. It'd be funny, but the problem is at the expense of Amber. And so the problem is that her defenses are up, and so I saw that, but and so what I looked at that is that's a action that I used to do when I was early on in my marriage, and I saw it took me a long time to break that bad habit and realize, wait a minute, that all I'm doing is tearing her down and lifting myself up and making myself look better than her. And instead of prioritizing my wife and making her my number one, and not making, I can tell a joke and be funny, but not make her the part of the joke. But it was also looking at things where, looking at Mike and having him put his wife first in priorities. One of the things that I uh, believe is that if I have $100 bill, it would make me happier to see the joy on my wife's face than any joy that I would receive by doing something for myself. So I constantly want to pour into my spouse and making sure that her cup is full and her cup is overflowing, instead of sitting there making sure my cup is overflowing and hers is empty or dry. You know what? I look at that and say, hey, look, I want to give 51%. And, if I give 51% and my wife gives 51%, we continually reciprocate. So anyway, I saw these things in Mike, and I suggested a few things of, hey, if you put your wife first, then you can, and see what it does to change your marriage and how it's going to have an impact on your wife. Because, love is not just a word. It's not just a word, and it's not just an action. It's also an attitude, and
that's good.
because I can tell you I love you all day long, but my actions speak louder than my words, and my attitude speaks even louder than my actions or my words. So my attitude, I can tell you I love you and turn around and have a bad attitude about something you ask me.
Right.
So it's like, wait a minute, you just negated what you just said, right? And so how do we change our priorities to be able to build up our spouses and make them our priority, and make them feel and be more important than us. And so that's what I try and strive to do. And I think that the other things is that a lot of times people want to give for their spouse. It's like, you got to do this big grandiose gift. You don't have to do that. It's not that. So if I work a 12-hour day, 13-hour day, on my way home, I might stop and buy her favorite candy bar. And when I get there and give it to her, she might be like, well, what did you get for yourself? Because you were stopping, obviously, to get you something. I didn't get myself anything. And it wasn't about me. It was because I wanted to do something for her, and, and do something for her. And so it doesn't matter. It's not the cost. It's the action and what you did, like you going out of your way. It might be just getting a drink for them on the way home. It's the small things. But if you're constantly doing it, it sets up a pattern. And so then what happens is that when you have, let's say the last 10 interactions with your spouse, if 8 of them are negative and 2 of them are positive, then guess what? You're gonna get in lots of fights. You're gonna have lots of disagreements. But if 7 of them are positive and 3 of them are negative, then when you have a disagreement, you have something that could turn into it could turn into a bad situation. Well, guess what? It's not going to be as hard. It'll be a much easier. It may not turn into such a big brawl or such a big disagreement, because you've had all these other little positive interactions,
Right.
That turn into, but like, well, there's things that I've been married 30 years, and there's things that I do that my wife doesn't like that I do, and she can list them off like that, but because there's more positive things that I do, and trying to fill her cup and keep her cup overflowing, then it helps offset those few things that I do that she absolutely hates. If she could change those things, I'd be perfect. But she doesn't ask me to change those, because she just is like, well, I'll take the good versus the bad, because we have so many positive interactions. So I looked at those ideas and that concept and be like, hey, Mike, if you try these things and see what it does. And I was concerned that you probably wouldn't listen. And if you did listen, you probably wouldn't do it. You'd be like, yeah, that might work for you, but I know it's not going to work for me. And I definitely know it's not going to work for Amber, because
Right.
like it ain't going to work.
Well, honestly, at first, when Blaine told me, and we had this conversation, he brought up, at first I did. I felt that defense mechanism coming up in me. But I also thought to myself, so here's something Blaine doesn't know, but I had been praying for good friendships in my life, and where I can have healthy relationships that would help me grow. And while Blaine was telling me this, was God was speaking in my ear, here you go. And I had to think stop, because I knew this. One, I know Blaine well enough to know that what he was saying to me, he wasn't saying to be mean to me. He was saying because of concern, care, because he cares about me and Amber. Second of all, he wasn't telling me anything different that my wife hadn't already told me, but I wasn't listening to. And to me, I'm thankful that I have a friendship with someone that if they see something in me that you're not afraid to have that conversation with me. That's a good friend. You're a good friend, Blaine. And I appreciate that, because I had a choice at that point to do either one of what you just said.
Right.
Blow them off, get angry, or listen. And I chose the latter part, and I listened to him. And what I liked too that Blaine did was he followed up with me that week. And I remember I really thought hard about what he said, because I think a lot of times men, we go through life, and married couples, we go through life that it can become stagnant after a while. Sometimes we're just existing with one another like roommates, and we're not thriving, right? And that's what you saw with me, that, Mike, you can have a great marriage. Your wife wants you, this is what happens when you're doing this. You don't see her face.
Right.
I see her face.
Right.
And I remember, so that 2 days later, so the next day, actually, I went to the store and I went and got a card. And it was just something simple, a very simple card. And I put it in her car the night before she went to work, so that she could see it. And so it would be the first thing that she saw. And I remember when she got in the car, how happy she was with what she saw, right?
Right.
And Blaine's called me, I talked to Blaine, and he encouraged me to continue that. And Blaine told me he sent me websites and stuff like that of places and things that you can do. Taught me how to use Fiverr, Etsy, and some of those things. Blaine he's Romeo. He's Casanova over here. He had letters from different parts of the country sent to his wife, telling her how special she was, and she was receiving those in the mail. And then just a few weeks ago, we went on. It was her birthday, and we went to on that. And Blaine, he saw where she could get this message from this actress she liked from this Hallmark special she watches. But then Blaine's telling me, he's going, yeah, but Mike, then I saw that, hey, I can do a Zoom call with this woman for 10 minutes. Wouldn't that even be better for Shelley? And I'll be honest, just the excitement in Blaine made it exciting for me to see that, but to see what he was doing. But that carried over to me. And it was just, I'm going to say about 3 weeks later of me listening to Blaine, following Blaine's example of what he was doing. We went back out to eat, and I remember you pulled me aside, and you remember what you said to me?
Yeah. So I saw Amber was totally different when she walked up. She didn't have her defenses on. She wasn't waiting for the first to be the first part of the joke. The butt of the joke. And so it was like she was relaxed and calm, and I was like, whoa, wait, what happened? And so then I saw, and she was able to have a good time, and I saw that it changed. And the part of it is that we sometimes expect that we do one thing, and when we do that one thing, well, we give up after that one thing, because guess what? It didn't work, And it's like, no, that's not the point. The point is that it's got to be consistent. You got to stick with it. It has to be, like I said, it's got to be the action plus the attitude. You gotta be
And the attitude's right because
be consistent with it.
yeah,
Yeah. So you got to be consistent with it. And again, it doesn't have to be large. It can be small. It's always the thought. And for years, in the beginning, when we were about 10 years married, I was always in technology, and my wife was always getting my hand-me-down phones. And there was this phone I really wanted. She knew I wanted it, and I was able to get it brand new, and she didn't know I had it yet. Well, I was begrudgingly, I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna go get a gift bag and some tissue paper, and she got in the car, and I gave it to her, and I'm like this, and she saw it. She realized, she was like, wait a minute, isn't this the one you want? I'm like, yep, that's the one I want. And her response was, I don't care what it costs, go buy whatever you want. I'm like, whoa, that's the answer? That's the secret? She's like, yeah, that's the answer. Like, if you put them first, it's going to change. And I realize is that, the same thing goes in conversations. If my wife wants to talk about curtains, then I could care less about curtains, but I listen and I
yeah,
have engaged. Then when I want to talk about a subject that she could care less about, then she may be actively engaged as well. But I think, I still have the challenge with listening, but for many, many years, almost 25 years, I held on to the fact that, you know what, I always wanted to get I wanted to get the next nice car, and my car always had to be nicer than hers. She would get my hand me down, and she could just drive whatever or whatever, I mean, I work hard for my money, and I should be able to, get
right.
a nice car, drive a nice car, yeah. But recently I've changed that, and it's like, and so it's like, you know what? She got a nice car a couple years ago, and her car was newer than my car, and I'm like, babe, we need to upgrade your car even further and go even further and get you even a nicer car. And right now we have ongoing arguments or disagreements about the fact of like, okay, I wanted to put money in your car, and she's like, no, I want you to do stuff to your car. So we're arguing about who's going to do what for the other person, which is like, that's totally unusual,
It's a
right?
great argument to
Yeah,
have,
it's a
right?
great argument to have. And so, and the problem is that I don't give in. I'm like, no, honey, you're gonna get it. And so, but it's great because it's like when you're constantly for that other person and working to try and make them happy every single day, you know, I I want to spend 24 hours a day, 7 days a week with my wife. That's my best friend. I don't care what we're doing. I don't care where it is or what, just want to be with her, I don't care where it is. I just want to hang out, and that's my joy is just being with her and being in her presence, and because she makes me happy, she makes me laugh, and we always have good time, and don't get me wrong, we've had struggles, we've had fights and been up till 2 a.m. in the morning, and and so, but it takes work, it takes effort, but it's a lot better to give effort on the one you're with than the one you're not with. And if you gave the same amount of effort as trying to not be with the person that you're with as you did with the person you're with, you'll find that it's going to change, your perspective, and it's going to actually help build your relationship. And you've got to be constantly creative on trying to how you're going to, what you can do for this other person, and trying to make them happy. And it's not hard. It really isn't hard.
Yeah.
And it doesn't cost a lot. It just takes effort.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I like about your and Shelly's relationship is, and what's helped me is that you guys see each other. You're that close that you have unspoken communication. You guys will be out to eat or something. You guys are laughing and stuff and haven't even said a word to each other, but you guys have that communication. But you also see each other, and that was one of the things that you helped me to do, because it's great now, because when like that night that you were talking about when you saw my wife and me again. What was nice, I remember walking and my wife is hanging onto my arm. She had a hold of my arm, and how she was looking at me, it had all changed. And something happened about a month ago. I was out driving, making my contacts for work, and my wife called, and I could tell in her tone, Blaine, she was not having a good day.
Not having a good day. No.
And I'm like doing the husband thing. What did I leave the toilet seat up? What happened? And she said, no. She goes, it's stupid. She's like, I went to Starbucks this morning. There must have been another Amber. I went in and I got the wrong coffee, and I didn't realize that till I got to work. And then she's like, and then I looked down and I only have one sock. She only had one sock. And she goes, I remember she said this to me. She goes, I guess I'm just destined to have a bad day. And I remember when she said that, her tone, everything that she said when she said, I guess I'm just destined to have a bad day. It pierced me. Because I don't want my wife to have a bad day. And immediately now, because now I had been practicing what we had done, it was like without thinking, I pulled right into Dollar General there. I went and I gave her, I went and got some socks for her, but I did the Blaine Brusman treatment. I just didn't put them in a bag. I got a gift bag with tissue paper and stuck those socks in there. I got a card and I put in the card, that my wife never deserves to have a bad day. And I put that in the card. Then I went to Starbucks, and thank God for your wife, because I'm like, Shelly, do you know what kind of coffee? Because my wife has this special coffee, right? It's not just go order a number 3 or whatever. It's a special coffee. And so Shelly's like, well, do you have her app? And I was like, yeah. So I hacked into my wife's Starbucks app. I walked up to the counter. I told the guy must have thought I was crazy. I said, listen, that right there, my wife got the wrong coffee today. I need you guys to help me fix it. Can you follow everything? And then I was like, he gets done. I said, make sure you put that caramel drizzle on there. Because I've heard my wife several times be upset because, man, they left the caramel drizzle off. So I was making sure that caramel drizzle was on there. And I went to her work, and I'll never forget. So it's about 40 minutes later. I pull into work. I text my daughter works with her, and I tell Holly, meet me downstairs, and because I don't know how to get to her office. And Holly brought me in there, and I remember as I walked around the corner, and my wife saw me holding that bag and that cup of coffee with her. Blaine, I'll never trade how she looked at me. At that moment, I didn't have to say anything. Right there was the key. And that simple, that was simple. Getting her coffee was probably the hardest thing because I had to hack into her app, but then getting Dollar General socks and go to them. And my wife, I remember my wife called me later. She goes, these socks are so wonderful. They're Dollar General socks. How can Dollar General socks be wonderful? What was wonderful was her husband saw her. That was what was wonderful to my wife.
Well, and so to take it a step further, you put whatever you had going or whatever was important to you aside, and you prioritized her issues or what she had going on over whatever things you need to do in your busy day, right? And that's what changed it. And it wasn't the dollar amount because it was a small, it wasn't a lot of money. It was just the gesture,
I think I spent $8 and something altogether for everything, less than $10. And the joy out of the payoff. I often talk on my show about what's the payoff in doing this. The payoff is the way my wife looks at me.
Yeah. When Shelly and I were dating, we called it, what I would do is she didn't know when and she didn't know where. And once a week, I would go find her car, whether it be at work, school, or home. And she didn't know where. And I'd put a red rose on her car, on her windshield. And she'd walk out. She'd walk out and see this. And we called it the weekly rose because she didn't know when or where. And it wasn't because of a
That's
special
cool.
special occasion. And I did it every single week we were dating. And I mean, it would just be random, you know. It's like, and so it made a difference, you know.
And I think a lot of us, we did that in the courting stage.
Right,
But then the kids came along,
right,
move into a house,
Right.
we had all this stuff happening. And then somewhere along there, we stopped courting our wife.
right. Mm-hmm.
And for me, I know I was letting things in the past, I was letting just life lead me instead of me leading life. And the relationship is with my wife is so important. We do something now, and you can find us on some of my previous episode with Tabitha Perry. It was our 50th episode we aired that me, my wife. I told this woman about that I was on a podcast with how my hardest thing I do is pray with my wife.
Right.
Well, Amber listened to that, and I share that story in there. But me and my wife, we pray together every night now. And Blaine, it's not long prayers; it's short prayer. But when I set my phone and the alarm went off on my phone, and my wife, we were with company at that time, so I had to put it away. My wife's like, What was that alarm for?" I was like, and I was embarrassed to say this,
Right.
but I said, "I set an alarm because I wanted to pray with you." Blaine, she melted right there.
Yeah.
She's like, "Really? You?"
Yeah.
So the thing I feared the most, she longed for
Right.
the most.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times we feel inadequate to do these
Right.
things that we once used to do with no problem. We wanted our wives
Right.
to know, "I love you." But now that we've got the prize, we've kind of slacked off. And I thank you as a friend for helping me be a better husband. I hope you guys out there that you have that. If you don't, you need to generate those friendships. That's what this challenge is going to be about, this 28-day challenge. It's going to end on February 14th. And how it ends is with your date with your wife. How is your wife going to look at you 28 days from now? Is it going to be different than what she's looking at you today? Because with me, all it started was with a card, but it really started with me listening to you.
Right.
That's where it started. And there's some guys watching this that I've challenged. I've sent some emails to about 5 friends of mine that I said that I've, not because I think they have a bad marriage, but because I want them to enjoy what we have.
Right.
And they may be sitting here saying, "Man, I do take my wife for granted." And the challenge is, what are some of the little things that you can do to start seeing your wife? And I want to challenge you. Go look at that Tabitha Perry thing. Do you pray with your wife? You know what? To me, that's my favorite time now of the day, is when me and my wife pray together. You know, I like that. And I'm not trying to sound spiritual.
Right.
Like, look at us. We're so haughty. We can pray together. I'm not trying to do that. But what I love about it is I've never had that in my life before. And we enjoy it. And now we're working on goals together instead of me having my goals and she having her goals.
Yeah.
We've come together. So where I was disconnected before, you've helped me as a friend to reconnect with my wife.
That's awesome.
And that's what this challenge is about, is helping you guys to maybe, there's so many distractions in our world, right?
Yeah.
And you guys have them. What are the distractions in your world? For some of you guys, I'm not telling you go and that you should do exactly what me and Blaine said to do. Not all of us can have a movie star call our wife on her birthday, you know. But what are some of the small things that your wife would like? What are you doing every day to just a little? We don't have to go over top.
Right. You gotta
Just
move
a
1%.
little.
1%.
Yeah, just doing that.
I got lots of work to do if I gotta figure out something by February 14th. I mean, you know.
Well, what I'm hoping is that on February 15th, I'm going to have a special recap of everything that we've done. And I'm wanting you guys to post your pictures of that date night on February 14th. But I also want to see the messages of how is God changing you. Do you want a good relationship with your wife? A lot of men wait until the bag is packed and at the door. And that happened to me before. I've been through a divorce.
Yeah.
And when that happens, it's too late. By that time, it's over. Why do we want to get to that part? Right now, you can do something in it. Does your wife know how special she is in your life? And I'm going to challenge you. Let the Holy Spirit speak to you. What is he saying to you? What are some of the things that you can do that would make a difference in your life? One thing that I like that Blaine does, Blaine makes us all look bad. I'm just telling you guys. He does. Every morning, Blaine gets up. What time do you get up in the morning?
This morning I got up at 5:15.
And he goes and gets his wife a cup of coffee from Starbucks. Every morning?
Every day. Every single day.
But you know that's a little thing. And that little thing fills her cup.
Yep. Sometimes I gotta give her a muffin too.
Oh, do you? Man, now
I
you're...
gotta get her.
There
a
goes
muffin.
the budget.
Like, did you give me a muffin? Yeah. So we call it breakfast in bed, and so it's still usually an hour before she gets up, but it's there waiting every morning. So she gets out of bed, drinks her coffee, and it's, again, you know what? It's a little bit of effort on my part, but it goes a long ways. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, because if I miss a day, it's like, what happened?
Yeah. And I want to encourage our guys out here. I know a lot of us, we're too manly for this stuff, you know?
Yep.
And we got to quit that, man. Our wives, they deserve the best from us. And I'm getting to that stage where we're going to be empty nesters, you know? Woohoo! Don't tell John, but yay! Yeah. And we're about to be empty nesters. And I'm telling you, Blaine, and I can't tell you guys enough, the payoff for me has been watching how my wife looks at me. How much her and vice versa, the love that's been rekindled in us by doing simple and small things, and me not, anyone that knows me, you know, I love to tell jokes. I love to be a jokester, a comedian, whatever you want to call me. Yeah. I like to do that. I like to make people laugh, and that's a defense mechanism actually, because, you know, I'm trying to make everybody like me, I think, and a lot of times, you know, I would joke, and my wife would be that, and I'm now changed my mindset. My mindset now is, I don't want to speak this over my wife. Why do I want to speak that over? So now I speak nothing but positive over my wife. I want her to know how important she is to me every day that I can. And it's not going over top. It's being authentic and being real. And that's where you got to find that happy medium. You can't go into this wondering, what am I going to get out of this? It's not about what you're going to get out of this, because for me, it only took a couple of weeks for my wife. My wife really started seeing the difference right away. Maybe your wife doesn't catch on to that quick. Maybe, you know,
it might take a while. It might take a while, but don't give up.
You may not be as good as Blaine here, you know.
The payoff in the end, because it took me a number of years. I've been married 30 years, and trust me, it wasn't this good, you know, in the you know, so
and it's not about what you don't go to do it because of what you get out of it. No. I see what you get out of it, because now I get joy from her smile. And when I can surprise her, when I get her, and she, like, bring that coffee and those socks up there, something way out that I would never do, and to see her face, I'm addicted to how she looks at me. I love it.
Yeah, it's definitely addicting.
So that's your challenge, guys, for the next 28 days, to start courting our wives and finding unique ways to do it. But I'm also going to tell you, we can't do this alone. We need brotherhood. We need a brotherhood amongst us. And if you're like, man, my church doesn't have a small group like that, or we don't have this, first up, be a man and go start one then, you know? Go find a friend. Go find some. I remember it was several years ago when I started this. I was going through something. I remember one thing I longed for was some friendships, and there was a man God was calling me to talk to, but he was a doctor in our church, and he was busy, and I knew he was one of the prominent heart doctors in the area. But I was like, no, I'm going to obey God. And I went. So I asked him for some time, and me and him went out for coffee and talked. And I said, I know you're busy. I was giving all the reason why he didn't want to be my friend. But I said, I need some good friendships. I loved how he loved his wife. I loved how he loved his family. I loved how he loved God. And I wanted some friendships like that. And little did I know that he was longing for the same things. And then as we started this friendship, little did I know that all the things that we had in common, but that relationship helped get me to another level.
Right.
And having those friendship really, really matters. So I really want to encourage you guys, go to the website, click on the free book, download it. If you got to have a book in hand, you can order it on Amazon. It's really cheap, or email me and I'll mail you one. Okay, it's not about the money. It's about changing lives. And Blaine, thank you for being on here today with me and for sharing this, because I knew this would be a good cast off to this and to sharing this. And this month we're going to have some great people in. We're going to talk about some of the hard things.
Yeah, well, I love just hearing the reaction that you get and how when it works for you and what it's doing in your relationship, and so the more I can hear about those wins, the better,
better, isn't
the
it?
better, because too many times we hear about the people and they're negative, people been married 25 years and giving up, and it's like, no, don't, it's you can change the trajectory of your relationship.
You can.
You can.
You really can.
And it's all about you. It's not about them, because a lot of times we think it's them and their issues when it's really us and our issues.
And that's what it was.
I still have problems with listening. I do. So I don't.
But because you go at
yeah.
5 o'clock in the morning and get coffee,
Yeah.
she's a little bit more forgiving,
Yeah,
right?
So
I don't think we're calling this a 28-day challenge, but I really think we should call it the Blaine challenge. I mean, you have set the bar high for us to do, but I love it. And I got to tell you, people who don't know you, I love your guys' relationship. But what I love more than anything is you shared that with us so that our relationship could grow.
Right.
And that's real friendships. And that's what we want for you guys. We want your relationship to grow as well. So go download the book, get a friend, but get a paper and pen out and start writing out just a few things of what you remember. What does your wife like? Like for me, getting my wife flowers, my wife doesn't like flowers. Okay? She doesn't.
No.
That's not her love language.
Right.
What's your wife's love language? My wife's love language is words of affirmation.
Right. Yeah.
She loves that, so I make sure that I'm doing that.
Yeah.
And through the day, I'm sending a positive text or something. I want to make sure that throughout the day, my wife is getting at least 3 positive things from her husband throughout the day.
Yeah.
And so I just want to encourage you, write it out. What are some things that you can do? And remember, it doesn't have to be big things. It's the little things that really count. And if you're struggling with those thoughts, private message Blaine over here. You need your own website, and where we can just go to with getting all those things. But listen, go out there, be what this is about, being intentional in our life, and let's be intentional in our relationships with our wives. So 28 days, it's going to be simple. I hope you guys will be a part of this, and I look forward to seeing your comments. And throughout the week, if you do something special, take a picture of it. I know this sounds womanish, but it encourages people. Post that picture, put it in the comments. If it's a card you left, it's a cup of coffee you got her, put that in there so other guys can see it and can, because we know what it means. We see that, and that empowers us to do it. And let me tell you, I promise you, you are going to be addicted to making your wife smile like we are. So until next time, guys, I just want you to continue. Just keep being intentional. We'll talk to you next week. Every morning you get our coffee.
Yes.
Man.